You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Jim Gilchrist, voice of the Kingston Frontenacs. You're listening to OHL Overtime, an in-depth interview show highlighting the players, coaches, and broadcasters from around the Ontario Hockey League who make the league so great, as well as in-person coverage of events such as the OHL Playoffs, OHL Championship Series, OHL Combine, and more, exclusively on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Here's your program host, Brandon Caputo.
Welcome into another OHL playoff game recap right here on OHL Overtime on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Here with you following Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Brandon Caputo is with you, and I'm going to be introducing my guest here with me, co-hosting tonight in just a minute. Guys, make sure to follow the podcast on X at Armchair GM Pod, and thank you to those today listening on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Give us some love, whatever one you chose to listen to us today as well. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, on all that good stuff for you. So, with that said, the Oshawa Generals take Game 1 of this series 4-2 with an empty netter late. And I'm pleased to welcome on my co-host now for tonight, who was nice enough to join us. That would be Oshawa Generals radio play-by-play man Jack Moore, called the game tonight on the Oshawa Generals radio network. Jack, thanks a lot for joining us, and it was quite the interesting Game 1. Generals and Battalion. Battalion jumped out to a 2-0 lead, and the Generals were able to fight back in front of almost 6,000 here at the Tribute Community Center.
Yeah, you knew that the crowd was going to play a factor in this one. Before the game even started, everybody knew that this was going to be a sold-out building, and how loud this crowd has been down the stretch of the regular season and into the postseason. I mean, even looking to round 1 and a 1 versus 8 seed, Oshawa versus Barrie, they're putting 6,000 people in this building on every home game in all three of those. So you knew the crowd was going to be a factor into it. The team asked the crowd to, give them that jolt early on, and then North Bay comes out and punches Oshawa in the mouth, and Sandusville Manis scores 3 minutes into the game, and you're a little bit concerned, and then Oshawa seems to have a good shift, but then Talon Wakely gets his 12th of the postseason, and you start to think, this is why they're the big bad battalion. This is why this team has been to 3 straight Eastern Conference Finals, and even without Anthony Romani, even without Dom DiVincentis and their captain Liam Arnsby, you think that this team is just going to take over because they have the experience everywhere. And I think it's a little bit of the youthfulness of the Generals. They're the youngest team left of the 4 teams remaining in the OHL. They're the 6th youngest team in the Ontario Hockey League this year. And it's almost that, whatever, it's 2 goals. Who cares? Let's move on. Nobody was really worried or concerned. I think in that first period, Oshawa had 4 power plays, and you have to look at the captain, Stuart Rolofs, being able to score on the 5-on-3 just 13 seconds into that 5-on-3 advantage in period number 1, and think that that's the turning point in the game. If Oshawa goes out to the first intermission down 0-2 in the game, it's going to be a tough way back, but they're down by 1. Rolofs then scores the only goal in period number 2, and then Oshawa just kind of turns into their structure and says, we're going to grind you out. We're going to dump it in, we're going to heavy on the forecheck, we're going to hit you at every turn, and then we're not going to give you much when you go into our offensive zone, and that's what happened here tonight, and the Generals come away with that 4-2 win like you mentioned, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if it's 4-2, 8-2, 8-0, 1-0, you have a 1-0 series lead, and everything just turns to game number 2 now, and you're trying to take 2 games on home ice to begin the series.
Feeling out process from both teams here in Game 1. So we're going to get all the game stats, get into the scoring summary. We're going to get the post-game with both teams as well tonight. But, Jack, before we get going with a lot of that stuff, I mean, you've watched this Generals team all year long, traveling with them, calling all their games at home and on the road on the Oshawa Generals radio network. A little plug for you there. What have you seen from the evolution of Jacob Oster, winning goaltender of the year, Derek Laxdal, coach of the year? So they've got guys that are being recognized league-wide now as a younger team, you mentioned, and already having some of those guys come up with those accolades. Just what has it been like to see the evolution of this group from a getting swept in the first round last year.
It's really interesting because as somebody who's around this team as much as I am, and especially last year where this team was, they finished 8th in the Eastern Conference. Nobody really gave them a hope. They, 5 games out in the first round. 5 games out in the first round against the Ottawa 67s. They did take one at home in that first round series. But, I could have made the argument to you last year that Derek Laxdal deserved the Coach of the Year last season. I think on paper you looked at that Oshawa Generals team and it was generous to put them in the playoffs with what they were and what they were getting out of their players, and Callum Ritchie being as injured as he was and still producing a point a game. I feel like in his 2 seasons here, Derek Laxdal has gotten the most out of almost every single player that's come through here. There's a couple exceptions here and there, mostly last season, but it's getting those guys to commit and buy into the system and the structure that they have. And he has found a way to get these 16 to 20-year-olds to do it. And not a lot of people can do it. And that's why he was the first coach in WHL history to win 50 games in 3 consecutive seasons. He won 2 WHL championships when he was with Edmonton. He won a Memorial Cup. He went to the American Hockey League. No surprise, he has success. He loses Game 7 of the Calder Cup Finals to the Toronto Marlies in 2018. And then he goes to the NHL, becomes an assistant coach for Rick Bowness of the Dallas Stars, and guess what? They go to the Stanley Cup Finals in the bubble against the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you knew what you were getting with Derek Laxdal when he came in. It was about, are these guys going to buy in to what he's selling? And this team has bought in. I think the most important thing for this team has been that play of Jacob Oster and the off season that he had this year. He came over from Guelph, played really, really well those first 4 or 5 games. Then things started to fall off for him, and it was about finding that way back for Jacob Oster to get to a point where, hey, you can be a starting goaltender in your 19-year-old year in this league. I think the number one thing that was most important to his development was that not only was he in an NHL development camp this year, he was with the LA Kings. And why that was so important is because the Kings went to Australia for their preseason game. So when every other NHL team was cutting guys from development camp, the LA Kings had to keep 40 guys back in California while the team was traveling to Australia. So he got an extra week of being around NHL guys, being around pros, asking questions, being with that coaching staff, and learning from guys at the next level. What do I need to do to build off of what he's already done in the summer? So I think that helped huge for Jacob Oster's development coming into this year. And then again, I think it's the team buy-in to, hey, we've got guys who can score. We need to keep the puck out of our net. That's going to be the most important thing. And so this team has really bought into the defense-first mentality, grind them down offensively, hard on the forecheck. And when you get your opportunities, you've got Beckett Seneca and Dylan Robrick and Callum Ritchie, Stuart Rolofs, Connor Lockhart, Rasmus Kumpalainen, who can all put the puck in the net on a given night. And then, hey, you know what? At some point, you're going to get one from Luca Morelli who's going to score the game winner for you. So I think that's the system and the structure that Oshawa has built into this team, and they're really executing on a high level right now.
And I talked to General Manager Roger Hunt. He went out and got Connor Punnett from the Barrie Colts, a big rugged defenseman. What has he kind of rounded out to that Oshawa Generals D-core, and what has he kind of added on that back end for them?
He's so physical. He's so tenacious in the corners. Nobody wants to go around him. He throws a big hit. Look at how many guys on the other team skate near him when he throws a big one. Nobody. Because nobody actually wants to drop the gloves with him because he's that scary. Because not only will he beat you down physically, he can beat you with his offensive skill and his puck-moving ability. But if you want to drop the gloves with him, he'll beat you at that too because he is so big and physical. So, I think that just like the ability, not too many guys in the league are confident in their ability to go into a corner and win a battle with him. I wouldn't be. I would be scared to go into a corner with him. So I think he adds that element to his game. He just it's a little bit more explosive of a player than Thomas Stewart was. Thomas Stewart, one of the most underrated defensive defensemen in the Ontario Hockey League. But when you get that explosiveness, a guy who can, bring that element offensively while still bringing it defensively and then getting those big moments, those big hits that get crowds into the games here when you have 6,000 in the building, that makes a difference for the momentum of a team, and that's what he brings, the first pass out of the defensive zone. He's just so good at all those small things that round him out to a guy who signed an entry-level contract with the Dallas Stars.
That physicality, maybe he could be a football player, something else you know a lot about. Too.
Hey, you know what? I think he's going to make more money playing pro hockey than he would if he wanted to play football. But if he wanted to play football, I got a couple contacts for him who I'm sure will give him a CFL invite or at least get him into university football. Only if he wants to play for the Laurier Golden Hawks. That's the only thing. He's got to go to Waterloo and he's got to play for my Laurier Golden Hawks.
Not allowed to play for Western.
Never. Nobody's allowed to go to play for Western.
We'll get into the game stats tonight, brought to you by J&L Flooring. If you think a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack. Contact our Niagara Falls location to be your quality flooring project today. Jack, we look at the shots on net, and again, this game was played a lot, I guess, with the special teams. There was not a lot of 5-on-5 in this game. So when you look at the shots on net, I mean, you mentioned North Bay got off to that quick start. They end up losing the shots on net battle there, 33-26. What did you see from the shots as the game went on? Oshawa continued to put more on the net, but what did you think from the shots category?
Yeah, you know what? North Bay kind of plays that high-risk, high-reward style of hockey. They look for that breakout pass behind the D, stretch for that breakaway chance. So, I'm surprised looking at it. This is the first time I've gotten to take a look at the shots post-game. But, 6 shots in the first period, high quality, good chances. Making Jacob Oster move. 2 goals on those 6 shots. 20 shots the rest of the game. Couple good chances in the second. 11 shots in the third. I never really got the sense that they were, that close to scoring in the third period. It didn't feel like they were high-quality scoring chances. So you have to give credit to the Generals' defense. But, they put up the number of 11 in that third period, and Jacob Oster stands up to the task. He stops 24-25 down the stretch after letting in the first one. So you got to give him credit there. And then for Oshawa, just their style of play, how they get their chances, and it doesn't matter what line it is. The top 9 for this Generals team can dump it in, forecheck, get the puck, and then get consistent control for 90 seconds, for 120 seconds. And it can create 4, 5, 6 chances. So, you see Oshawa with 9 shots in that first period. I think 6 of them came within the span of 2 minutes. And then the rest of the period they have 3 because they're trying to get that feel-out process for when they can control the puck in the offensive zone for a sustained period of time. Listen, the Generals have only been outshot in a playoff game through the first 11 once, and it was in Game 4 against the Ottawa 67s in Round 2. The only other game where they didn't outshoot their opponents, Game 3 against the 67s, it was 43-43, and Ottawa carried the play to begin the overtime before Connor Lockhart ended it. So that's the way that they play. They typically outshoot their opponents, but it's just that style of play where they all come in one big moment as opposed to spread out through the course of the entire game.
We heard both coaches kind of say, Ryan Oulahen said in the postgame that we'll get to, that Coach Laxdal was doing things that he would kind of do himself. So it seems like both coaches are similar in the way that they want to go through their line changes and just their style of play. It sounds like they have a lot more similarities than differences.
I think these two teams are built almost identical, the way that they play, the system, the style that they play. And I think they're coached very similarly. I think the mindset, the mentality that these two coaches have. I asked Derek Laxdal off air before the game how important the first change is going to be. And he said, listen, we're not into the matching game. If you want to be successful in the playoffs, our top 6 has to go against anybody. And there's no hiding from the defense pairing of Paul Christopolous and Tanias Mathurin because they're going to be out there for 30 minutes a game, right? North Bay's 3 losses away from being ousted from the playoffs. They got to win 4 of the next 6 to move on to the OHL final. So you got to think as this series revs up, those 2 minutes are going to rev up as well. They're going to be out there against everybody in this series. So I don't think there's a ton of line matching happening between these two coaches because I think that they are both aware our top 6 has just got to beat your top 4 defensively, and they're both confident that their groups can get it done.
Right, and then we get to the specialty teams tonight. 0-for-3 for the North Bay Battalion and 1-for-6 for the Oshawa Generals. I mean, a lot of this game was played on specialty teams. Coming into this series, North Bay had the second-best power play in the playoffs. Oshawa with the number 1 ranked penalty kill. So a little bit interesting there which one was going to prevail. And Oshawa 1-for-6 on the power play. So North Bay was 5-of-6 on the penalty kill. Oshawa was not able to kind of rectify that. What did you see from the 6 Generals power plays? And we heard Coach Laxdal talk about that in the postgame, that he really wasn't happy with the power play, and when you're 1 of 6, you'd want to generate a little bit more in that sense.
Yeah, well, the Generals went 3 of 19 in the second round against the Ottawa 67s after being 30%. I think they were 7 of 23 in round 1 against the Barrie Colts. But you know that you're going to get good quality defensive teams when you get to this point in the playoffs. Again, there's no hiding. These are the best teams left because they're the best teams in the league. This is why we play the games and get to this point of the season. So you're not going to have an easy time, and this North Bay penalty kill is swarming. They are very aggressive. They're hard on the puck. They don't let you set up and have time. When there's any chance of a fumble of the puck, they're on you, and they're trying to get it clear down the ice. And I think Derek Laxdal mentioned it in the postgame when I asked him about the power play in the last 5 games. He had a really good answer where he said, you know what, I didn't think we were very good in the first period, and 4 of our 6 power plays were in the first period. So I think that had something to do with it. Definitely something Oshawa has to take a look at. For North Bay going 0 for 3, their power play looked flat. Again, you mentioned it. The Generals penalty kill, one of the best in the Ontario Hockey League. Luke Torrance is probably the best penalty killer, but then when you add in the long reach of Dylan Robrick to play with him, and then Owen Griffin has sneakily become one of the better defensive forwards in the OHL on this playoff run for the Oshawa Generals. And he's out there with Rasmus Kumpalainen, who's a big, heavy forward and plays really well on the penalty kill. He can defend 2 spots at once on the penalty kill for Oshawa. And North Bay, it really felt like tonight they were missing Anthony Romani as that threat on the power play. I know Dolan Wakely, phenomenal talent scoring. Ty Nelson, phenomenal talent as well offensively. But it really did feel like tonight specifically, North Bay was missing that Romani threat on the power play.
Yeah, a guy scores over 50 goals. You're going to miss that guy on the man advantage. I want to touch up on Oshawa's power play real quick. Seems like they really try to set up Callum Ritchie on that left dot for that one-timer, and it seemed like Mike McIver was a little bit kind of chasing that a little bit and maybe cheating a little bit to that Callum Ritchie one-timer. Is that something that they've tried to kind of do all season long? And they ended up scoring on one of the rebounds, but it seems like they try to set up the Avalanche's first-round pick on that dot.
Yeah, you know what? It's interesting because the second power play unit, they do it with Matthew Buckley from that same spot. I really liked when they put Connor Punnett on the other side and give him that opportunity. They've switched him out with Stuart Rolofs just to give Punnett some breaks during the game, but it might be something that they have to revisit because it's no surprise that when he leaves the power play percentages have gone down a little bit here just because he's that threat. You have to respect every threat. They also do like Beckett Seneca reloading, circling back up to the blue line, Luca Morelli hitting him in stride. So there's threats everywhere on the ice for the Generals with their power play, but it does feel like they are forcing it a little bit to one spot. And I think for Oshawa to get going on the power play, they just need to feel the game out. And again, the great part about playing in this building, you get 6,000 fans who are screaming, yelling, and they're so passionate about this team. Sometimes with 18-year-olds, that can get in their head too much. They try and make the wrong play to force something to the net that's not there, and it doesn't lead to good sustained pressure. So I think for Oshawa, they just need to revisit what works best for them moving on into the series.
Good point. Lastly, touch up on the face-offs, 39-31 in favor of the Oshawa Generals tonight. Jack, did you notice anything on the dot that was of importance? I know late in that game, North Bay had the goalie pulled. They weren't able to get that tying goal. Kupalainen, as you mentioned, 15-24 on the face-off dot, led the way for the Generals. And on North Bay side, it was Procession and Wakely, both 11 wins, 27 losses, and out of 27 and 24 face-offs respectively. What did you see from the dot tonight?
Yeah, it's a really interesting dynamic with that top Generals line. Callum Ritchie plays center, Dylan Robrick on the left wing. But they actually switch based on what side of the ice the faceoff is being taken, who takes the faceoff. And It's funny, there was one faceoff, I mentioned it on my broadcast, where Callum Ritchie was in the faceoff dot. He gets kicked out. Statistically, Dylan Robrick's a better faceoff guy than Callum Ritchie based on the percentages. So I thought it was pretty funny. He won that one cleanly. It didn't result in anything offensively. But that's just the way things go. I think Oshawa has a number of guys who can effectively take draws. And when Rasmus Kumpalainen is winning faceoffs, he's just getting possession for Connor Lockhart and Stuart Rolofs. And defensively, Luca D'Amato, Luca Morelli, Ben Danford, Connor Punnett. It just makes it so much easier for Oshawa to get the puck in deep, go on the forecheck, and try and set up sustained offensive pressure.
Get into our scoring summary tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work in Niagara since 1983. Check out their up-to-date job board at ehc.on.ca to find your next work opportunity today. We've talked about it since the open. The North Bay Battalion got off to a quick start. Sandusville Manis takes the pass from Bronson Ryden, Jacob LeBlanc, two former Niagara Ice Dog defensemen there.
How do you feel about that one?
No comment. 3:04 for for Sandusville Manis gets the Battalion the early lead and kind of shocks the Tribute Community Center here. That was a raucous crowd, raucous pregame, and it kind of silenced them a little bit, and beating the reigning goaltender of the year kind of maybe caught Derek Laxdal's group off guard there.
Former Sarnia Sting, he played in the Western Conference Final a year ago. He gets it all alone in front of the net. He scores! He takes sole possession of the OHL playoff point lead with his 6th of the postseason. The Riga, Latvia native Sandusville Manis goes upstairs off the crossbar and behind Jacob Oster to make it 1-0 North Bay.
Yeah, you know what? I thought it was a great play by, Bronson to get the puck to Sandus. And then when he went in, it was a beautiful goal. He went to his backhand. He put it off the bar over the shoulder of Jacob Oster. Goaltender of the year or not, I don't know how many goaltenders in this league are stopping that from the Florida Panthers prospect. So beautiful play for North Bay. And like you said, it kind of took away that home ice advantage at the start of the game because it took the breath out of the crowd and it really settled things down for the Battalion.
And then Dallin Wakely was able to get them on the board again at 4:30. So within the first 5 minutes, North Bay gets an early 2-0 lead.
Owen Van Steensel walking in. Backhand goes through the crease. They score! Dallin Wakely on the doorstep. His 12th of the playoffs. 4.5 minutes into period number 1. The North Bay Battalion have a 2-0 lead.
It was interesting in the postgame. Derek Laxdal was asked if he was thinking about using his timeout, but he said, you know what, there's 55 minutes left in the game. I'm going to hold it here. I believe that if North Bay would have got another quick one, I think that's when he would have used the timeout, but I think his team was able to settle down nicely. But Dallin Wakely at that time, the North Bay Battalion getting up 2-0 on the road in Game 1.
Yeah, and I asked that question in the press conference, and that was more because I've watched this team so much. I've watched 134 regular season games of this team over the last 2 seasons and now 16 playoff games, so that's 150 games. I've seen Derek Laxdal, not in the preseason, coach this Generals team. He's pretty liberal with his timeouts. He doesn't typically save them. If he feels the need to use it, he will. And that was just my feel of, I kept looking down at him after that goal went in. I think he's going to use it here, and I personally thought that was a moment that he felt that he needed to use it. That's why I asked the question in the post-game press conference, because I felt like the way that he coaches and the way that Oshawa has operated with their timeouts over the last 2 seasons, that was a moment where it would have made sense. But I think you're right. I think, he kind of put that faith in his team and his leadership group, and ultimately it worked out for him.
The Oshawa Generals battled back late in the first period there. Stuart Rolofs, the captain, gets his 2nd of the playoffs on the power play. It was their only power play marker of the game from Callum Ritchie and Bennett Seneca. The initial shot there by Ritchie, the rebound, Rolofs picks up the garbage there to get the Generals on the board. And then in the second period, Rolofs gets his 2nd goal, which is a really nice stretch pass from Connor Lockhart, falling down in his own end, finding the captain and just went in there and was able to beat Mike McIver. So really good play there by Connor Lockhart, obviously OHL championship winning player last year with the Peterborough Petes. But Stuart Rolofs, the captain, took over here. 2 big goals for the Generals to get them on the board and then get the game tied.
Yeah, he's standing in front of the net on that goal. Callum Ritchie, like you mentioned, had the one-timer. It was loose out in front. Stuart Rolofs able to clean it up, and that's just a big, strong guy in front of the net who's tough to move, and he got his stick free and was able to tap it home. And then on the second one, you mentioned it, Connor Lockhart knew exactly where Stuart Rolofs was. He was skating facing the other way. He picked up that puck, turned, fired it into the perfect spot for Rolofs to split the D and go in on McIver. McIver, and he made no mistake on the 5-hole against the young goaltender for North Bay, who's been asked to go into a really, really tough spot in these playoffs. And Rolofs made no mistake. And those are two guys who played U16 hockey together with the Canada Lasers back in 2018-2019. Those are two first-round picks in the 2019 OHL priority selection. Connor Lockhart was a 6th-round pick of the Vancouver Canucks, and he's really showing here and elevating his game now as we go deeper into the playoffs, and proving why Peterborough went out and got him last year, why Oshawa brought him in at the beginning of the year this year, and why he's so important and valuable to this team.
So much experience. And then we get to the eventual game-winning goal there early in the third period, and Connor Lockhart had a little bit to do with this one as well. A little bit of controversy as far as the goal interference on that goal, but it was just a little bit of a scramble. Connor Lockhart and McIver kind of, touch skates there in the left part of the crease, and McIver's able to get back up. But Luca Morelli kind of takes a shot from an odd angle there along the right boards, and McIver's just not able to get set, and it's able to just kind of squeak by him there. He was pleading for goaltender interference. Coach Ryan Oulahen challenged it, but after a long review, it was upheld by the officials, and it's a good goal. Luca Morelli, good time for him to get his first goal of the playoffs.
Back to the point, Morelli, his shot blocked, goes wide. Torrance on the doorstep, picks it up in behind the net. Now Kupalainen shoots, it goes wide. McIver was down and out. Morelli scores! His first of the playoffs. Luca Morelli fires it home through Mike McIver. 3 unanswered, and the Generals have a 3-2 lead. A minute.
Audio goal highlights are courtesy of the Oshawa Generals audio broadcast. Catch all the playoff action with Jack Moore on oshawagenerals.mixlr.com.
It ends up being the game winner, but early in the third period, Jack, what did you see from your vantage point?
Yeah, you know what? I think you summed that up really well. I think there's a couple things you got to remember with this is the call on the ice matters. They called it a goal on the ice. When they went to review, this was my view on it, how I saw the play, and take this with a grain of salt. My paychecks are signed by the Oshawa Generals. But if the Rasmus Kumpalainen shot had have gone in, I think, that's goalie interference, personally how I saw it. There was a lot of time between that Kumpalainen shot and the puck going off to Luca Morelli. Mike McIver got up and elected to turn in the wrong direction. If he turned to his right, he would have seen it the whole time. He turned to his left. He was turned around from the play. And don't forget, he got back to the post, and it went through his 5-hole, right? It's not like he wasn't able to make a play on the puck. He actually got in front of the puck. It just went right through him, and that's why it went in. So I know there's people listening in North Bay who probably disagree with my view on the goal. That's how I saw it. Again, if the Rasmus Kumpalainen shot goes in, absolutely 100%. Goaltender interference, but this goes back early in the playoffs to the point of we've changed video review in the OHL playoffs this year. Remember, it was the goal judge who had the final say. The referees were giving their input of what they saw on the ice. Now, obviously, when you get to the conference final, you get to the championship series, the league takes over the video reviews, but now the referees have the tablet out. They're looking, they're on the headset. Now they're getting input from that video review judge, but they're making the decisions they want on the ice. And those referees elected to stand with the call that they made on the ice, and I thought you asked a really good question in the press conference. If you didn't ask it, I was going to ask it. What was the explanation that you got to Ryan Oulahen? And he said his explanation is how I saw it, that there was enough time for McIver to get back to the post. Obviously, if I was in North Bay's spot, I don't know if 10 out of 10 times I'm going to challenge it. I understand their frustration with it and what they saw from it. But I think even if you looked at that one objectively, because it wasn't the Kumpalainen shot that went in, it was the Morelli shot that went in, there was enough time for Mike McIver to get back. The puck went through his body as he made a play to the post. You can't penalize the Generals because he got to the post and was able to make a save, and he just didn't.
And the call on the ice, as you mentioned, is key, and that was called goal. there wasn't enough. They looked at it for a while. There wasn't enough to overturn that McIver didn't have enough time to get reset in his crease. So that was the eventual game-winning goal. Luca Morelli's first of the playoffs, and then later in
first OHL playoff goal in his career. Missed
There you go.
all 5 games of the postseason last year with a broken wrist. He played 6 in his rookie year against the Kingston Frontenacs in 2022. He was held pointless. So all the points he's gotten this year are all his points in his OHL playoff career. That was his first career playoff goal for the Generals.
See, this is why we have Jack on, for all these little factoids that I'm not going to be able to tell you. So we get later into the period, the empty netter, great hustle play by Callum Ritchie to beat out the icing, beat the battalion defender back for that puck, and is able to find Connor Lockhart out front and kind of rewarding him for having such a great game and setting up Stuart Rolofs earlier with that great play. Connor Lockhart buries it and seals the game in the empty net.
Race with Nelson. Ty Nelson picks up. Ritchie takes it away in the corner. Slides it in front. Lockhart scores! It's 4-2 Oshawa with 42 seconds to go in the third.
Yeah, and you know what? It's not just any North Bay defenseman who was on that puck. That was Ty Nelson. That's the first overall pick in the 2020 OHL draft. That's a guy who's gone to 3 straight OHL Eastern Conference Finals. That's a guy who's a draft pick and a player, or is going to be a player for the Seattle Kraken. That is a world junior player for Team Canada. And Callum Ritchie gets into that battle in the corner. He wins it, and then he has the cerebral play to get it to Connor Lockhart in the slot, who put it into the empty net and made no mistake. I think that just sums up Callum Ritchie as a player so perfectly, and I think it rewarded, like you said, Connor for how well he played in this game and how integral a part he is for the Generals if they want to go on a deeper run in these playoffs.
The number 1 and number 2 seeds here in the Eastern Conference, but the Generals are the younger team. Battalion have been to 3 straight Eastern Conference Finals, but the Generals take this one by a 4-2 score in Game 1. We're going to take a break on today's show. We're going to come back. We're going to get post-game from both teams, and we're going to get Jack's player of the game as well. So stay right here. We're right back on OHL Overtime, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award-winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
In the Niagara region, Global Pet Foods is your destination for premium pet nutrition and caring expertise. Whether you've welcomed a new furry family member or need advice on top quality nutrition, their dedicated staff is ready to help. Discover why Global Pet Foods' lesser-known premium brands outshine the big corporate names. Their team's passion ensures your pet's health and vitality. Check out one of their locations today. 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, or 400 Scott Street and 344 Glendale Avenue in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where premium brands and caring staff make the difference. Since 1999, Niagara Dental Clinic has been helping thousands of patients achieve natural-looking smiles with the confidence to show them off. Sean Battelle and his wife Anne, both licensed denturists, bring a wealth of skill and experience to the warm and friendly atmosphere to their Niagara Falls location at 5501 Drummond Road. And their on-site Niagara Hearing Clinic offers free hearing tests and a variety of services to fit your needs. This family-run practice takes pride in providing superior care and service to their patients, along with the best premium products available on the market. Get the best work done at a more reasonable price. Niagara Dental Clinic is here to help. Protect your teeth with a mouth guard, replace missing teeth, and get better hold with your dental implants. Call them today for a free consultation at 905-353-1552 or check them out online at niagaradentalclinic.com. Niagara Dental Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for 25 years.
Niagara Golf Lounge features 2 state-of-the-art indoor golf simulators, allowing you to play some of the world's best courses all year round. The perfect place to indulge all season long. Don't worry about getting thirsty while you play around with your friends. Their fully stocked bar offers a wide selection of drinks, appetizers, and a variety of meals are also available to enjoy before, during, or after you play. Grab a seat next to the fire in their comfortable sports lounge. Didn't bring your clubs? No problem. They have partnered with TaylorMade to offer you the best rental clubs. You won't want to miss their exclusive NFL and NHL giveaways for the Buffalo Sabres and Buffalo Bills. Located in the Best Western Plus Cairncroft Hotel, 6400 Lundy's Lane in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more and to reserve your golf bay today. The Niagara Golf Lounge, Niagara's home for golf and sport all year round.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network, the Niagara region's best local source for North American sports podcasting coverage. By sports fans, for sports fans.
Welcome back to part 2 of today's OHL Overtime game recap of Game 1 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the Oshawa Generals and North Bay Battalion. Brandon Caputo is joined by my guest co-host tonight, Jack Moore from the Oshawa Generals radio broadcast. Jack, before we get into the first post game with the North Bay Battalion, I guess what did that first game show you? Like what did you learn from this first game? Again, it's a feeling out process for both teams, but calling the games and being around this Generals team all year, what did you see tonight? Was that a microcosm of what you've seen from them all season, or was it a little bit uncharacteristic play from them?
You know what? I thought the first 5 minutes where North Bay took a 2-0 lead, I thought that could have been indicative of how this series went. North Bay was going to be the big bad team who has all this playoff experience. Like, you think of a guy, Paul Christopolous just played a 294th OHL game between the regular season and the playoffs. Doesn't really miss games. And he's gone on a few deep playoff runs here. If this series goes 7, he's going to hit 300 between those as a guy who missed a full season because of COVID. It's insane to think about the experience that he has and he can bring to the table on the back end and how many games he has under his belt. And it felt like early on that experience was controlling the game for the battalion. And then as the game wore on, Oshawa just realized, hey, we can hang with these guys. They're not on another tier. We're the number 1 seed in this conference, even though we're the younger team, and a lot of people have us as the underdog in this series. So I think for Oshawa, it was, hey, we can hang here. We can play at this level. And you know what? We can control the pace of play at this level too. Not that I think that they dominated the game by any stretch of the imagination. I think there was a lot of back and forth between these two teams in game number 1. But I think, you know, it showed Oshawa that, hey, we belong here and we should be here and we should be the number 1 seed. And I think for North Bay, it was, you showed that experience early, but now you need to see it. And again, I understand they're missing Arnsby. They're missing Romani. They're missing DiVincentis. Those are a lot of guys who have a lot of playoff experience. But at the same time, you have a lot of guys on the ice, guys who swept away the Sudbury Wolves, who were the top offensive team in the OHL in the regular season. So I think you look at it as a whole. I think North Bay is going to look at their start and how they can carry that momentum with them and start like that in game 2 and carry it through the rest of the game. I think Oshawa wants to play like they did in the third off the jump on Sunday night.
Yeah, and we'll get into the post-game tonight. First with the North Bay side, brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. We're going to hear from head coach Ryan Oulahen as well as defenseman Paul Christopolous for our first post-game.
Joined tonight by North Bay Battalion head coach Ryan Oulahen, along with veteran defenseman Paul Christopolous. Coach, an early 2-goal lead, one that didn't hold up. Maybe just walk us through how things unfolded.
You know, I thought it was a bit of a tough game for us. Just a game in which it was hard to get a rhythm going. Anytime we we kind of got things sorted out. It just, something happened in the hockey game that just triggered, a different momentum change or a whole bunch of different circumstances. So a little bit of a weird game. I don't know how much you're going to get to read in terms of the 5-on-5 play. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot of it today. But all in all, Oshawa kind of came as advertised. I said before the series, we haven't seen a team that's going to do it shift in, shift out, shift in, shift out, and they certainly did it here tonight, and they earned victory number 1.
Paul, Coach spoke to your rhythm being a little interrupted by the penalties tonight. Did you feel you guys were on the undisciplined side, or was it just a matter of playing close to the edge?
Obviously a couple of penalties that we took were grid penalties, but just gotta learn to stay disciplined.
Guys, we'll take questions. If you have a question, please just wait for the microphone to come to you.
North Bay came into the game very hungry and looking hot in the beginning. At the first period, you scored 2 goals after minutes. Where do you think the momentum changed in order for Oshawa to find the win at the end?
Both of us? I'll take it, sure. The 2 goals kind of came a little bit easy, I think. I don't think any team was kind of establishing a game at that point. I thought we were opportunistic. You had a 2-goal lead, but it was far from going to be over. And then they just kind of chipped away. I don't think there was a drastic momentum shift other than us not being able to stay out of the penalty box there, especially in the first period. And that carries over into the whole game because you got to use a lot of guys. We need to play fresh. We need to play on our toes. We weren't able to do that second and third, probably because of that first period.
Thank you.
Brandon?
Coach, when you look at that goal that you challenged, what did you see from your vantage point, and did you think your goaltender, Mike McIver, really didn't have a chance to get back in the net there, scrambling with Lockhart in the corner there?
I did. I mean, 10 out of 10 times I'm going to challenge that call for sure. There's significant contact. It was explained to me that he still would have had time to face the play, but I just think when there's that much significant contact, I'm going to challenge that all day long.
Paul, can you talk about your penalty kill tonight, 5 of 6? Oshawa had a lot of power plays, and you guys, the penalty kill unit was out there a lot tonight. So can you speak to how they were able to kind of pull through that and only allow 1 on 6 as a small victory as you go into Game 2?
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of skill, high-end talent guys over there, and we know that for sure. So we have to just dial in on our PK there.
Coach, just how crucial is it going to be to get Lee Martinsby back for Game 2 and the rest of the series?
It's going to be big. He's such a massive hole out of our lineup, and I give the guys credit in the room. In the last little bit here, we haven't had him for 6 games, and guys have dug deep. They've adopted a bit of a style that we've had to kind of get through with that time. But him coming in, he's a guy for me that's going to play in a lot of different scenarios, a lot of different minutes. And I just think matching up against Oshawa, we need him to add that depth, especially in our top 3 lines, to be able to match up with Oshawa. So I know he's excited to get back and being able to contribute to us.
And Paul, for you, you guys have run into some bad luck this postseason with injuries. Of course, you lose Romani in Game 1, and then you lose your starting goaltender in Game 2, but just from teammates' perspective, how much confidence do you have right now playing in front of Mike McIver the way he has been playing through these playoffs?
Mikey's been great for us all year from the start of the season, and the boys are really confident in our team.
Jack?
Paul, when you go out there every shift to play against their top 6, what differences do you see from that top line with Robert, Richie, and Seneca to when you play against Christopolous and Lockhart?
I'd say all 6 are high-end players, and they're all a good matchup against to play. Just gotta find a way to be strong.
Coach, you average 5 penalties a game in round number 2, and then you have 6 penalties here in game number 1 of the 3rd round. How do you adjust that and stay disciplined moving forward in this series?
Well, we got to do a better job of, number 1, keeping our sticks on the ice. as coaches, you never like high stickings or trippings or those types of penalties. We're taking too much of that. And we just got to find a way to, I always talk about, when you can tilt the ice and you can have the puck a little bit more, then you're not going to be in situations to put yourself in those situations to take penalties. So I know it sounds simple, it's harder to do, but that is going to be a key. They're a disciplined hockey team. They're an extremely disciplined hockey team. So we're going to have to do a really good job here this series of doing a better job getting out of the box.
You talked about the matchup in this series and how the two teams match up together now, seeing it through game one. What adjustments do you need to make as a coach for the team?
It's really hard, I think. I mean, their coach might say the same thing. I don't know if I got a really good read on it, just the way the game went. But saying that, the way the line matchups are, and I mean, it seemed what he wants to do is similar to what I would want to do too. So I don't think that's going to play a big difference in terms of last change. I do think within the game, out changing them, shift to shift, having a little bit shorter shifts, those types of things are going to be, maybe a little bit of a focus for us, and playing more 5-on-5 hockey. We just have to do it.
There was the North Bay perspective, Jack. We were both in the post-game together asking questions. What did Paul Christopolous, man, a few words, I guess, especially after a loss there. But head coach Ryan Oulahen had some great thoughts and was very honest about his team's play and how, they started off great, but just really didn't like their game tonight. And even talking to some other members of the battalion, just seemed like it was an uncharacteristic game from them. Give credit to Oshawa and Derek Laxdal's group, but what did you think of Coach Oulahen's post-game thoughts tonight?
Yeah, I thought, he was really open and honest about it. I think he, and he answered the questions well. And really it does seem like they have a plan on how they're going to attack game number 2. I think, I sat here after game 1 of the first round when the Barrie Colts came out and punched Oshawa in the mouth and took game 1. And everybody's freaking out. We're the number 1 seed. They're the 8th seed. Are we going to go down in the first round? And Oshawa ends up winning the series in 6. They win 4 of the next 5 games. I don't think that it's time to panic for North Bay by any stretch of the imagination, and I don't think that they are. I think that they are respecting their opponent a little bit more than they did coming into the series. I think there was some of that mindset, and I think you could get that sense from Ryan Oulahen when he was talking in the press conference of that's a really good team over there, and I think they needed to see it firsthand and play against it and get that feel for it to really have it set into their emotion that, hey, this team can hang on the other side of the ice. I think for Paul Christopolous, it was just frustration of hey, we're right there. And you don't want to think that the mindset's creeping in a little bit. But this is a team who's done this 2 years in a row. They were, up in the third period or going into the third period last year against Peterborough, and they had a chance to move on to the OHL final, and they see Peterborough take that away from them. And then they see the Petes go on and win the OHL championship. After a year where, hey, we're probably here a year too early, like Oshawa is this year, but we got swept away by the better team in Hamilton. It's good experience. Let's carry that over to next year. They have a decision to make this year at the deadline. They decide to add. They decide to get here again. But now you don't want that mindset of, oh, no, this is happening again. Oh, no, not again, to start creeping into your mind. So I think it's going to be really important mentally for North Bay to regroup, refocus, and get out to a strong start in game number 2.
Yeah, good point, Adam. Dennis really doubled down this year when he could have been on the selling end, and North Bay was up with 10 minutes left in Game 6, could have sealed that game, lost in overtime, and then even still had Game 7 at home, and the Petes were able to take it from them. So like you mentioned, good point there about maybe the mindset, and you don't want that to creep in if you're North Bay side. Do you think maybe their style of play changed with the amount of penalties they were taking in the first period? 4 power plays for Oshawa. Do you think maybe they got a little timid of trying not to take penalties, and it maybe got them away from their game a little bit?
Well, I think it's interesting that, both these teams are physical. They try and get under your skin and draw those penalties out, and Oshawa was drawing the penalties, and North Bay was taking them, and it was getting frustrating. So they thought that they had to back off and that they would get the calls back the other way, and it didn't balance out, I think, as much as they hoped that it would. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they need to look at how they started this game, the way that they got out in the beginning. And hey, don't get me wrong here. They took 6 penalties here tonight. They averaged taking 5 penalties a game against Sudbury. It's not like they haven't been in this situation before. it's their style of play. You know, if that's how you play, and again, they have a phenomenal penalty kill. If that's how you play, and that's what's successful for you, keep going back to it. I understand that you don't want to be in the box. You don't want to give a good offensive team more opportunities to score with the man advantage. If that's what works for you, do what works for you, and I would have full faith in my penalty kill if I was Ryan Oulahen. So I think, their focus is going to be not to change their game completely, just be a little bit more mindful of the stuff behind the play, after the whistles, play within the whistles, give those shots to them when you can, but be mindful of where you're hitting guys and when you're hitting them.
It's a long series on the North Bay side. You can take a positive that they can learn from that first game. So we'll get the Oshawa side of things, and that is brought to you by the Niagara Denture Clinic, creating natural smiles in Niagara for 25 years. If you forgot to bring your mouth guard on the ice or lost a chiclet, contact our licensed team of denture professionals in Niagara Falls to get your smile back on track. Here is head coach Derek Laxdal as well as captain Stuart Rolofs after their Game 1 victory.
Joined now by Oshawa Generals head coach Derek Laxdal, along with captain Stuart Rolofs. Coach, the team maybe gripping the sticks a little tight out of the gate tonight, but full credit to your club for maintaining their composure.
Yeah, with the 8-day layoff, and obviously with our first time, this team being here, I thought we had a lot of nerves early on in the game, and it showed in the score. We were down 2-0 before you could blink your eyes, and we were lucky to get through that period, to get that score to 2-1 with a big power play goal by Rolly, and just get out of the period, just kind of reset ourselves as a group there, and I thought we were better in the second, third.
Of course, a big time for a captain to come through with a pair of goals when you're scuffling a little bit. Stuart, were you happy with the way your team responded?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously we didn't have the start that we wanted. They came out of the gate hot, but I think, we took advantage of the power plays that we got and capitalized on them.
This question's for Stuart. So this was your first game of the conference finals. What strengths do you think the team had that you should implement into the rest of the series?
I think we just got to stick with our structure. I mean, that's what's gotten us here, and obviously North Bay's been here 3 years in a row, so they obviously have a little bit more experience than us. So I think we just need to stick to what's been giving us success throughout the playoffs so far.
Coach, what has Connor Lockhart brought to your group? Obviously won an OHL championship with Peterborough last year, and you can just see out there he's doing everything on the ice to help you guys win. He makes that big stretch pass to Stuart for one of the goals and then gets the empty netter. Just speak to his experience and what he's added to your group this year.
Well, you can't, you just can't get that experience unless you bring it in. With our group being so young, I think we're the youngest team left in the Final Four here. And to add Lockie in at, I think, November, December was a huge addition to our hockey club. And he came in right away, right off the hop, and established himself. And with that experience going and winning a championship, you just can't get that. For us to be able to bring that in, it really helped a lot of our young guys going forward. And he was excellent tonight. Before the game, he was dialed in. He was cheering the guys on and saying a lot of the right things in the hallway, getting the guys ready to go. So that's the experience that we don't have enough of, and he did a great job of trying to lead the guys into the first game tonight.
And Stuart, speaking of leading as the captain, when you guys went down 2-0, was there anything that you needed to say to the guys on the bench, or was it more so just a mentality thing of just, the coach mentioned the layoff? Was there anything that you had to say to them, maybe in the dressing room, or anything to really get you guys back on track and have the fore unanswered to get the win tonight?
I think just kind of the basic things, like they got up 2-0 early there, so we knew we had to reset and come out stronger next shift, because obviously we knew they were going to come out hot, and obviously we weren't ready for that, but I think we did a good job of adjusting there towards the end of the first period.
Coach, your team 1 for 6 on a power play, and now just 4 of 25 in the last 5 games. How do you have to adjust that moving forward and try and get more opportunities and chances on the power play?
Well, I thought we weren't ready to compete in the first period. I think we had 4 power plays in the first period. Correct me if I'm wrong. But North Bay did a great job of pressuring, competing, just winning battles. And I don't know if they thought, our guys thought they were just going to give us the opportunity because we had the odd man situation. But at the end of the day, you really have to raise your level of intensity and urgency on the power play. And Rolly got a big goal for us there just to kind of settle our group down. And we had a couple looks after that. But North Bay's got an excellent penalty kill. They pressure you hard, they compete, they're hard on pucks, and they're relentless. And they're not going to give you an inch. You have to work for that inch, and I think we have to do a better job of just, working for that extra ice.
4.5 minutes into the game, your team was down 2-0. Was there any thought to take the time out?
Yeah, I thought about it. There's still like 55 minutes left in the game, and I wanted to try and keep that for the end of the game in case we needed it. And sometimes you just have to let your team go through a little bit of a reset and just kind of, North Bay's a good hockey club. They've been to the conference finals 3 years in a row. They came out hard. They competed. I don't think our guys are ready to go. That could be on me. That could be on our leadership group. But give our guys a lot of credit for just resetting after the first period and got back to our game. And I thought McIver made a lot of big saves in that second, third period that kept them in the game. And so we have to have that short-term memory going forward, learn from our mistakes here tonight, and learn from our positive play, and then get reset for the game on Sunday night.
Stuart, 2 goals in the game tonight. You had one in the first 10 games of the postseason. How did it feel to get things going here in the third round?
Yeah, obviously it felt great, but at the end of the day, in the playoffs, individual statistics, I don't really care about them. All I care about is winning games, and I'll do anything I can to help the team. So obviously, I stepped up this game and got a little bit of confidence there. So hopefully I can keep it going.
Stuart, again, your team held them without probably 1 or 2 grade A chances in the third period. What did you do differently defensively to make that adjustment?
I think we just stuck to our structure, and you got to give a lot of credit to Ozzy there in net. He was unbelievable again tonight, and he's the goaltender of the year for a reason. But we can't always rely on him, and I think we did a good job of keeping the puck away from our net and kind of keeping them on the outsides.
There was the Oshawa perspective there in the postgame after Game 1 there, Jack. What did you think of what Derek Laxdal had to say? I'm sure you've heard plenty of pre- and post-game interviews talking with him all season long, and the captain, Stuart Rolofs, doubling his goal output for the playoffs. What did you take away from what the Oshawa post-game said?
Yeah, you know what? It's funny because I've talked to Derek a lot this year. I talked to him every game, and kind of off air, one of the things he said to me, he's like, no matter what, media guys always want to focus on the penalty or power play. They always want to talk about things that aren't going right. They never want to talk about the positives. And I was that guy in the press conference who said, Coach, listen, power play is not at its best right now. And I could feel like I didn't even want to look at him when I was asking the questions because I could feel the stare coming over the table. And even when he was walking out of the room, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just turn my head. I'll see him on Sunday. And I think, Derek's always open and honest. He gives really good answers. He has high expectations for his team. He holds his team accountable. And yeah, he didn't like his start, and that's what he said. And they were able to regroup and just find a way. And that's what this team has done, basically since they started 9-12-3-1 this year in the first 25 games of the regular season, and then go on to win 40 games and be the top team in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. It's part of their identity. They've just found ways to win down the stretch of the season, and I thought Stuart Rolofs gave a really good answer when I asked him about the 2-goal output and getting rewarded offensively. He said, you know what, it's great, but I'm not here for the individual awards. Like, we're here to win, and that's all I care about doing right now. And I think that's why some of the big name universities are looking to bring this guy in starting next year, and some pro teams are looking to bring him in as well, based on what he can do on this playoff run for the Generals. And when you give that answer and you play like that, and Stuart Rolofs plays like that every night, that really gives the Generals a chance to win. And it's the leader. It's the guy that everybody looks to when things are going wrong. What is he doing to help us? And he's the one who kickstarts the scoring and gets Oshawa back to 2-2 after going down 2-0, 4.5 minutes into the game. And the rest of the guys kind of pick up their bootstraps and go to work. And it all starts with the captain, and I think he practiced what he preached tonight. He doesn't care who scores. He doesn't care about the individual awards and the individual accolades. He cares about winning hockey games and what he can do to help this team win hockey games.
And that's why I asked him in the postgame, is there anything that needed to be said, or being around him, is he more of a lead-by-example type guy and not really the most outwardly vocal leader? Is he kind of just practice what you preach type of leader. As
100%. That's exactly who Stuart Rolofs is to a T. And again, he lives it. He practices what he preaches. He does everything the right way, night in, night out. And I think you saw him get rewarded in the regular season for doing that on his 14-game point streak where he had 15 goals and 11 assists in that stretch. And I think you're seeing him get rewarded for it now because he just puts in that work night in and night out. He's never going to give you less than 100% in the effort category, and it might not always show up on the score sheet, but definitely shows up in the bruises department, and it definitely shows up in the effort department and on film.
So before we get out of here, we're going to put our guest, Jack Moore, on the spot here with our player of the game tonight, brought to you by the Niagara Golf Lounge. Niagara's home for golf and sport year-round, located in the Best Western Cairncroft Hotel in Niagara Falls. Visit NiagaraGolfVacations.com to learn more, to host an event, or to book your golf bay today. Jack, you got a lot of options here tonight. Who are you going with?
Yeah, you know what? I think, I love Stuart Rolofs and the type of game he plays. I want him to get rewarded. He got the first star. I think I'm going to go with Connor Lockhart. Just he's the one who sprung Rolofs for that breakaway. He leads the OHL playoffs in shots on goal. He's generating offense for Oshawa at every turn. And I think tonight was just a perfect example of the type of player he is. Yeah, he's going to be the guy who's going to be in that conversation about a goaltender interference because he's going to go hard to the net. But he gets rewarded for his play here tonight with a goal and an assist. And obviously when you bring in a guy who has that kind of experience and is the 2023 OHL champion that he is with the Peterborough Petes, Oshawa wants to bring that to them in 2024, and he's been a difference maker. He was a difference maker here tonight, and he's my player of the game.
Well, that's going to wrap up our Game 1 recap here for the Oshawa Generals and North Bay Battalion. The Generals are going to take this one 4-2, drawing first blood in the 7-game series between the two top teams in the Eastern Conference. Our guest, Jack Moore, tonight. Jack, thanks a lot for coming on and giving the great in-depth analysis of this Generals team that I wouldn't have been able to do quite the justice as you. We're not going to have a game recap for Game 2. We got to go directly up to North Bay on the Monday, but you're always welcome to come back when you're able. Maybe the next game in Oshawa will have you on, but this show is great because I love to highlight the other voices and the other people around the league, coaches, broadcasters, players. So really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully people got a good taste of why you're the voice of the Oshawa Generals.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. Always fun to talk about this team as much as I can. I just did a 3-hour broadcast about this team, and I'm happy to do another 45 minutes to an hour with you. So not a problem. Anytime you need me, just let me know, and happy to join you. Do a great job.
Make sure to listen to the games on the Oshawa Generals audio network there. Jack has all the games available for you on demand on the stream as well, and he was kind enough to give us the goal calls that we can input into our shows as well. So that's going to wrap it up here on OHL Overtime and the first of 7 games here, possibly in the Eastern Conference Final in 2024. And another episode of OHL Overtime brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair. For Jack Moore, the voice of the Oshawa Generals, my name is Brandon Caputo. Have yourself a good night and a good weekend, and we'll talk to you again after Game 3 Monday night in North Bay.